Heather, tell us about where you are and what's been happening on your world adventure here.
Well, I think I last spoke to you guys when I was in Australia or something like that, and a lot has happened since then. We're now in India. So we've gone through Africa. We spent some time in Southeast Asia, and now we're in India. I'm actually in Goa, and at the end of a 6 week stay in India that took us all across the north, through Agra, over to Varanasi, up to Amritsar and the Pakistan border even. And now we're down in Goa in the south, enjoying beach and pool and all that good stuff, and Wi-Fi.
What surprised you most about the country since you have seen so much of it now?
About India, how diverse it is. You think, there's so many people I've spoke to who said that, I've been to India and now I'm going to have to go back to all of them and get some clarification because you can go to India 28 times, for every state in this country. It's incredible the difference from state to state. You've got sort of the royal palaces and forts of Rajasthan in the north, and then Agra's a whole different, animal just because the Taj Mahal's there and it attracts so many people to that golden triangle. And then you go over to Varanasi, which is, completely different, rough, rural, sort of gritty, and more of the India with the Ganges and what have you that you might have heard a little bit about. And then you come south, and it's different all over again. This is the birthplace of Ayurveda, so lots of spa treatments, and people look like they use Ayurveda. They're relaxed, they're enjoying life, and the food from one region to another is different and delicious all across the board. So it's been quite an adventure for the last 5 weeks.
Now, speaking of enjoying life, Heather, you guys are looking at sort of the home stretch now of this 1 year tour. I mean, there's still several weeks to go, but what has struck you overall about what you thought it was going to be versus what it has been?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think so far is that you think a year is a long time. And I know I will get no sympathy on this one from friends at home, but we among ourselves, the four of us, keep saying, I can't believe we only have 4 months left. As soon as we hit that 6 month mark, it felt like you were at the top of the hill and starting to look down. I've got an onlooker behind me. And as soon as we hit that 6 month mark, you started to feel like, okay, we've got to start to make our way home. And it's a little bit of a downer to start thinking about coming home. India especially was the place that when we were leaving home, we said, oh, we can't even start to think about India. India is so far away. And maybe because we did that, now that we're in India, we're all sort of like, it's almost time to come home. I'm really not sure how well we're going to adjust. And I apologize in advance for how grumpy I may be by the time I get home.
Now, you have been with the three men in your life, your husband and two boys, morning, noon, and night, 24/7 for the past 8 months and a few days. What have you learned about those three boys?
They are the greatest, honest to God. I thought when we left home, Ish and I even talked about the fact, you've got me giggling here. Ish and I even talked about the fact that, every couple needs some away time from each other, and that we might need to split up at some point on this trip. And we were okay with that. That, maybe he would go off and do some sort of adventure and meet us somewhere, or maybe I would take one child and he would take one, and we'd do different routes and meet up again. But just, recognizing that there's a lot of pressure in spending 24 hours a day with people that, some people would look at it and say, oh, that's a blessing. And at first I thought, it is a blessing. Of course, it's great that you can do it. But realistically, we don't do that in real life. And we were nervous about what that might mean. And I have to tell you, there has been no moment where I've been like, that's it, I've got to ditch these guys, I can't take anymore. It's amazing. The more time you spend together, the better the bond has become. And, as Ish and I said, it's like, well, I guess we never have to worry again about getting a divorce, because if ever you were going to get a divorce from your spouse, it would be after spending 24 hours a day together. And we're like, no, I guess this is solid. This seems to be going forward.
Yeah, my goodness.
It's even the kids. I only worry, and we'll see how it goes. I worry a little bit about, especially my youngest, how he'll adjust when we go back to real life, whatever that turns out to be, and he has to go be away from us as much as he will. You know, he's a pretty independent guy, but he has also become very used to being able to, you know, snuggle up with us. And remember, a lot of the time, it's four of us in a room. So it's not even like at night they're separate from us. Most of the time they're not. And so we'll see how he adjusts. He's become very loving and very not clingy, but huggy and kissy and great for me as a mom. Wondering how he'll manage and how that will change once we get home.
Now, speaking of change, what would you say is the biggest change that you have noticed in each of your boys over the course of this trip?
Ethan, hands down, it's the food. Like, I'm still amazed every time he eats a meal. Yesterday, we went to the beachside grill here. I'm in Goa, as I said, and they've got a beachside restaurant. So we went to that grill, and, you know, all of us ordered something very simple. I think I had a chicken dish. I think Ish had one as well, and Cameron might have had fish nuggets or something simple. Ethan ordered fish by the weight, went over and selected a pomfret, which was, you know, fresh from the sea, had it grilled the way he liked it with lemon butter, asked if he could have a side of rice and some beans. Like, he just, I don't know this child. And still, you know, all these months after he's done, I just cannot believe that this kid will eat. I can't stress enough, and I know any mother of a picky eater will get it, that this child was the pickiest of picky eaters. Wow. So that, as far as him, has been my biggest shock. What have I noticed in Cameron? I think, you know, what happens sometimes with a second child is the same thing I avoided. I only had 2 children because I was a middle child, and I know middle child angst. And so I thought I would avoid a little bit of that by having only the 2, and, you know, that wasn't the only reason, but I thought I escaped that. And Cameron, even though he's the youngest, still has a little bit of that from time to time. I think this trip has given him some security. I think he feels more confident in his role in the family, and is a bit more just secure in our love for him, and not so worried about, you know, my big brother gets more attention, or am I as good as him, or am I as smart as him. He seems to have grown a little bit, and it could be just age, but I also think spending this amount of time together has affected him really positively.
One thing I've wondered over the course of your trip with regard to your 2 boys, because they're 6 and 8, right?
Yeah, well, now 7 and 9.
7 and 9, of course. Are they the right age to sort of absorb everything that you guys have seen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't worry about that too much when I left, because, you know, I'm the same mother who took these kids to Europe, you know, Italy and France when they were 3 and 11 months. You know, so I've had the argument with people of, oh, they won't remember. And I'm like, you know, I don't care if they remember. I'll remember, and I'll take a lot of pictures, and I'll tell them about it. Like, that's just a part of growing up. But on this trip, yes, surprisingly, they remember a lot more than I expected that they would. And at first you think, nah, they can't possibly get it all. And then you will be, you know, 2 weeks removed from something and overhear them playing a game or saying something, and they're using the language and the referring to the things that, you know, you learned at a certain spot. You know, it'll be interesting when they go back to school and they're talking about maharajas and forts and, you know, I don't know, things across Africa. It's amazing what they've picked up. You know, even when we went to in Delhi, we went to the spot where Gandhi was killed, and we've mentioned Gandhi a few times over this trip. And yet, they got there, and hearing them speak to each other about him and his message, and I remember he got pulled off the train, isn't that right? And it's incredible what they retain. Mm-hmm. You know, their minds are sponges at this age. They're big enough that, you know, I don't have to be pulling them along all the time. They're there, they're just in the space. And to me, that just having them there, just exposing them to it, even if all that happens is 6 years from now, someone says something about India, and the picture they have of this country is different than the picture they would have had they not been, I'm good.
That's a
That's really all I wanted them to get was context.
I was just going to say that's a fabulous way to look at it, because I think a lot of parents obsess over age and what they're retaining and processing and will they remember and all of that stuff. And you know what? I really like your perspective on saying, it doesn't matter what they remember. I'll never know what they're going to know or not know, but I'm going, and it's, we're having an experience together.
Yeah, yeah. And they remember the feeling. I really believe that. They remember, they will, I'm sure. At one point I wondered, one of the things I thought, when I get home, we'll see, are we bonding on this trip? And I can tell you, 8 months in, and I'm so excited that we still have 4 months for this, because 8 months in, we are tighter than ever. We have, if nothing else, this trip gave us inside stories, inside jokes, right? We sat at the dinner table last night, and every night we always do a high low. So everybody says what the high of their day was and what the low of their day was. And we then started talking about, okay, everybody, let's talk about, give me one funny thing that's happened in each country we've been to. And we started, laughing and roaring over these events that I know I could tell you, but you wouldn't, it has no meaning for you. It was a look from somebody, or the way somebody said a word, or something, that just as the four of us, I know a year from now, whatever, we'll still be laughing when somebody brings this moment up. And it's created this, only the four of us have that, so it's a bond that it's just incredible. I'm so thrilled that we're to be a part of that and to have that with them.